All right, welcome to a new series that I'm going to be doing, which is breaking down my own training and hopefully giving you some sort of feedback and things that you can do for your own training. So we're going to start off with legs. I've just finished it today, so please bear with me that there might be some stuttering and overall I might just fucking collapse after this session. It was mega. We're coming close to the end of the training block, so things are getting really interesting as far as intensity. But also as well, we need to be making sure that we're holding on to really good technique and form, as if we want big legs, we need to be making sure that we are holding tension correctly. So I'm going to run through every single exercise and just sort of point out the things that I'm looking for, and hopefully that helps you translate it into your own training. So starting off with adductions here, training these first can definitely really help warm up the knees, warm up the hips, and overall get you ready to squat. So some things that I'm really looking for when I'm doing my adductions is you'll notice that you'll see me like forcing reps here, like especially towards the end of this set. Other things to note are making sure that as you are in that fully stretched position, you're really sort of pausing in that lengthened position. That's exactly where you're going to get the most amount of benefit, most amount of hypertrophy in this exercise. You know, not only does it allow for you to build those adductors, but it's great for your flexibility, great for your hip joint. So really let yourself get sort of carried outwards by that machine. The only things that worth noting in this is just notice how I'm sort of really sort of sinking my heels down. It's not like this sort of like I'm not sort of stopping half rep. I'm really making sure that I'm actively going all the way down and then pushing all the way up onto my big toe as well. Again, same thing, slight pause in that lengthened position. You can pause for longer if you like, just to really obviously stretch out and elongate that calf. I've found a bit of a sweet spot with it, and this is really what works for me. But in most cases, I would prescribe with my athletes for a 1 second pause at the bottom, just to get them to understand how to drop that heel down and get that full stretch of that calf, as it is one of those things that we walk around all the time, but very rarely are we actually dropping our heel down to those sort of limits to actually work the calf properly.
Okay, let's get nasty.
So now moving into our biggest movements of the session, which is going to be the swing squat. Now the thing with the swing squat is that it's really heavily quad focused. So the main thing that I'm looking for, and you'll see throughout these reps here, is my hamstring completely smashing up against my calf. That is the fullest amount of stretch that you can do on the quadriceps and is going to fucking put mass on your quads. I see it too many times before that guys tend to go too heavy, too quickly on these movements and neglect this bottom position of the squat. This can lead to not only potential knee pain, but also lacking development in the quads. You really have to explore this range to really explode up your quads. If you're coming from a powerlifting background, this is why potentially your quads haven't really grown too much, is because with low bar, you're really in that hip dominant type of a squat where you're not really exploring this depth. So really making sure that with these knee dominant squats you are exploring this full depth. It may mean that you need to take an ego pill and drop the weight, but the benefits that you'll get not only from muscle mass but knee pain and everything else, and as well it's fucking humbling, so it's going to be good fun for you, is fantastic. So really making sure that I'm like concentrating at the top, I'm breathing into my belt at the top, bracing, and then really holding that tension all the way down. I'm not using momentum just to drop down to the floor and, you know, just bounce off the bottom. I'm really making sure that I'm holding that tension at the top. So you see with these reps here, I'm going nice and sort of controlled and slow. It's coming down. I'm pausing in the bottom as well. I'm not fucking just like bouncing straight out of the hole. All this stuff leads to holding better muscle tension, better mind-muscle connection for growth as well. That's not everything, but it's really important to be making sure that we're controlling every movement. You don't want to just be dropping in and out and hoping for the best and just moving weight purely with momentum, as that's not going to develop any muscle mass or strength. Now into the hip dominant squat or movement of the day, which is going to be single leg. I guess you would call this horizontal leg press. Probably one of my favorite movements, and it's always in the past been really horrible for me due to lower back, but this machine, just the ability to be upright and seated and be able to push the weight straight out in front of me, is fantastic. So one thing you'll note is the range of motion is a lot different to the swing press. That is because this is a hip dominant press. I don't need to be trying to smash my calf up against my hamstring, as I've already worked that range of motion. With this one, we're working a completely different range of motion, which is the strength in the mid-range of the quad.
So funny when you feel like shit and you come to the gym and you're like, and it's an okay session. It's weird.
Yeah, you can never make that how you feel coming in as the litmus test, right? Because sometimes you can leave feeling amazing. Or like, you actually have a great session and leave, you know, in a positive mood.
This is what leg press is really best and known for. I completely disagree with a lot of people's arguments that it has to be full range, absolutely everything. I don't think so. If you've got a perfectly balanced program, you should be exploring all different ranges of motion and pressuring those ranges of motion by training it intensely and progressively overloading it. One thing that you want to make sure with this movement is to get your foot position right. In most cases, we have really tight hips as dudes because we're just not going to be popping out children anytime soon. So we are quite lax through the hips. A higher and wider foot position for this will definitely benefit for you if you're using just a standard 45-degree leg press. But for something like this, spend a bit of time on lighter weights to find that sweet spot, as it really, really, really will make a difference on your output with this machine as well.
It's just like getting that initial foot placement.
Yeah.
It's funny how it's just like there's a spot. You're like,
Yeah. Once you're in the groove, it's good. If you're out of the groove, it's...
Two more. Hey!
Push, come on.
Things to note with the seated hamstring curl is really, really smash that fucking pad hard up against your knees. You should not be able to fucking move your legs up and down and even side to side. It should be that locked in. This is going to enable you to be making sure that the only movement that happens is knee flexion, which is essentially bringing your calf or trying to kick yourself in the bum. That's all that needs to happen on this machine. So the tighter that you can get the pad, the better. If you can employ a seat belt as well, even better. The main thing that you want to have for a setup is you'll see that my legs are really slammed back. You want to have this as stretched out as possible with your quads because, again, like I said with the swing squat, if we can get that calf smashing up against your hamstrings, that is the greatest stretch that you can have on your quadriceps, which is your big front muscles. This is unfortunately an essential movement for legs. You need to be doing this because what happens is with your quadriceps, there's one muscle of them that is not hit unless you're in a seated position because it crosses two joints. It crosses the knee and the hip. So for it to be fully engaged, the hip needs to be flexed and the knee. This is called rectus femoris, and that's why you'll see in every single leg day, I'm doing leg extension, and that's why unfortunately I prescribe them to you too. But that's the leg day. I've been running this for about 16 weeks, coming to the tail end of it, milking it for pretty much all it's got at this point, and still reaping the rewards of gains. The main thing that I'm doing each week is progressively overloading either in weight or reps. At this point in time, it is mostly reps. I'm chasing for single-digit reps. So on the swing squat this week, I was able to actually increase the weight by 10 kilos, and now I'm at the bottom end of the rep range. So that weight will not change until I get 2 sets of 8, and then I'll slowly progress that again. So this is what you want to be doing with most of your movements, upper body, lower body, is selecting one weight. Once you complete those 3 sets at the rep range that your coach has prescribed, just say it's 15. Great. Then you move on to the next weight and you start at the bottom end, whether that's 8 or 10 reps, and then you slowly build it up to 15. That is progressive overload. It is the fundamental of fucking training. So I hope you enjoyed this type of video. I haven't done something like this before, but very excited to bring this series out. I think it's going to be very beneficial, not only for myself, but for you guys. And yeah, that's really all I've got to say. If you've got anything else that you want me to answer, please leave it in the comments, and make sure that you follow me on Instagram.